provided on the screen, or you can go to lumioclass.com and enter our class code, which is 923471. If you need to pause to join, go ahead and do that now and press play when you're ready to continue. All right, so now you're ready to continue with our unit on figurative language, day 2. And now let's go over our learning objectives. We are going to be focusing on ELA standard L.4.5. And the goal of this is for us to understand figurative language when we're reading. Today, specifically, we're going to be focusing on onomatopoeias and personification. Our warm-up today. So you're going to spin the wheel, read the sentence that pops up, and then determine if it is a literal or figurative language and see if you have the correct answer. So again, on the next slide, you're going to spin the wheel, read the sentence that pops up, and determine if it's literal or figurative. Because as we did yesterday, we went over what the difference is between figurative language and literal language. And if you can remember correctly, literal language is exactly what it means. So if I say the car is red, the car is red. There's no question about that. I can look at it. I can prove it. The car is red. But if I say something like it's raining cats and dogs, I'm not literally looking at cats and dogs falling from the sky. I'm probably saying something like, wow, it's really raining a lot out there. Or wow, the weather has changed and there's a lot of rain coming down. It's not literally happening. There's not literally cats and dogs coming from the ceiling, but it's a way to express or enhance your writing, to add tone and feeling to our writing. So let's go on to our next slide and start. So I'm going to play a quick example round, and then you're going to go on your own and play. So for example, on the game show, I see the gentleman. He says it's your turn to spin. I'm going to click the spinner. It's going to spin. And then I have a question. So the question is, she ran fast to catch the bus. Is this figurative or literal? So I'm going to ask myself, is this something I can prove? Is this something that actually happens? Can the girl actually run fast to catch the bus? Of course she can. We can see her do that. So that would be literal language. And because I got that correct, he's telling me it's correct. I got the 100 points and I can continue on to my next question. So now go ahead and pause the video again and play on your screen until the game is over for you. And then you can play and move on to the next slide. So now that you've finished the warm-up, let's continue on. Today, we're going to talk about 2 different types of figurative language. We have one called onomatopoeia. That's a tricky word. It's very hard for me to spell every time I spell it. But again, the word is onomatopoeia. I'm going to say it one time, and then I want you to say it. So my turn, onomatopoeia, your turn. My turn, onomatopoeia, your turn. Good job. The second word that we're going to work on today is personification. So let's go ahead and start with a think, type, share. Your question is, what do you know about an onomatopoeia? Do you have any examples to share? So I know some of the 3rd grade teachers, they told me that they covered this a little bit in 3rd grade, but not everyone has. So we're going to go over what you know about. If you don't know anything, that's okay. You can type, I haven't learned about it yet, but I'm excited to learn what it is. And maybe you can even add in a guess of what you think it is. So go ahead and pause the video and add your share to the think, type, share now. And play when you're ready to resume. So, an onomatopoeia. We're going to watch a video, and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in detail so we can kind of practice with it a little bit more. So let's watch our quick video. So now that we've watched our video, let's talk about it. An onomatopoeia are words that sound like what's actually being described. So think of an onomatopoeia like this picture. This man just stepped on a banana peel, and the banana peel made him fall. And if you fell on the ground, you would say something like, ouch, yikes. You would shout something out. That is your onomatopoeia. So if we look at our screen here, it says words that sound like what's being described were given an interesting sound effect to the text. So in this example, The man fell to the ground. Maybe he didn't have a sound, and the writer just added a sound in there to give us an emphasis or a tone to the writing, to know that he didn't just kind of fall onto the ground. He really fell to the ground. He hurt himself. He's kind of shocked about what he did. So that's what onomatopoeias do. They add tone, they add meaning to our writing, and that's why we use them. And again, they are figurative language, so they don't literally mean what they say. So when we add these sound effects, it's not like it's an actual thing that's happening. It's not a literal thing that's happening. It's adding effect to our writing. So let's do a listening practice. You will now listen to a poem, and while you listen, I want you to either take a piece of paper nearby, your dry erase board, or just make a mental note. But I want you to listen to the poem, and I want you to think about any onomatopoeias, again, sound words or words that add sound or audio effect to the writing as you listen. So listen for some sound words or onomatopoeias as I read this poem to you. The poem is this: Rain Dance by Victoria Riom. When a poem is born, what is the chance of words in rain, drip, drop, dance? Ping, ting, sing, pitter, patter, rhyme, rain dance acceleration makes my poem climb. Dribble, drench, drizzle. One more time. Rain Dance by Victoria Riom. When a poem is born, what is the chance of words in rain, drip, drop, dance? Ping, ting, sing, pitter, patter, rhyme, rain dance acceleration makes my poem climb. Dribble, drench, drizzle. So when I look at this poem, I see several examples of onomatopoeias. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reread the poem again, and I'm going to circle the ones that I got, and let's see if you got the same ones. So one more time. Rain Dance by Victoria Riom. When a poem is born, what is the chance of words in rain, drip, drop, drip, drop, sorry, left my place, dance, drip, drop, dance. So when I see that, I see the words drip, drop. I can hear that, right? If I think about the sink, I hear drip, drop, drip, drop. Or if I hear rain falling into a puddle, I hear drip, drop, drip, drop. So that kind of adds a little bit of some sound to the poem for me. Then I keep reading ping, ting, sing. Then that makes me kind of think about, like, if I have rain outside and it hits the gutter and I hear ping, ping, or if it's hitting something metal, ping, ting, ping, I can hear the rain falling. Same thing with pitter, patter, rhyme. If you're looking at the windowsill, maybe the window's open in the summertime and you hear pitter, patter, you can hear the pattern of the rain falling. And one last example is in the poem. Rain dance acceleration makes my poem climb. Dribble, let's move this one out of the way. Dribble, drench, drizzle. I can kind of hear those words when I'm seeing rain fall. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Or I can hear a drenching, gushing sound, or a drizzle. So all of these words are examples of onomatopoeia. The writer didn't have to include them to tell us about how rain falls, but she added it so we can have a little bit more interest in the reading and understand what she's trying to say and visualize it while we read. So now that we watched our video, let's kind of go over what personification is. As we talked about in the video, personification is giving human-like qualities or characteristics to animals or objects. So you can kind of think of it like this picture. We have about 10 pencils just sitting there on the desk. We could say the pencil sat on the desk, or the pencil sat on the desk. Or we could say the pencils were friends waiting for their turn on the desk. So we gave them human-like qualities. Pencils aren't literally waiting there, but when we add personification, we give them human-like qualities. It gives us a little bit more of a tone or a little bit more of a description of what the pencils are doing on the desk. So let's see some examples of what that looks like in our examples of the rest. So let's see some examples. Example number 1, the literal sentence, what it really means when we just say what it actually is the old house is making creaking noises. We can prove that because we can hear the creaking noises. We can see where they're coming from. We can prove this literal sentence. But if we wanted to add figurative language to the sentence or specifically personification to the sentence, we would say something like, the old house groaned in protest as the wind pressed against its walls. So we can hear the groaning. We can hear how the wind is going through the house. We can hear what those creaking sounds sound like. We can visualize it. That's what personification does to your writing. It adds more description. It doesn't just sound like a quiet groan, creaking sound, because they could say that based on our literal sentence. But when we add personification to our, or we add a personification to that sentence and we say specifically groaned, we hear that sound when we're writing or when we're reading the writing. Another example is, the car's engine was very loud. We can prove that. We can listen to the car. We can hear the engine be loud. We can visualize. We can see which car is doing that. But with personification, we can add a little bit more detail. We can say the car growled impatiently as it waited at the red light. So we can see the car at the red light and just waiting to go. It's waiting to go and be ready to go through the red light. So again, it adds more detail and it makes you visualize, see what the car is doing as it's waiting for the red light. So now you're going to start your exit ticket. And the questions are, how do you feel about what you learned today? So this is your self-assessment to see how you felt about what we talked about today. The question says, reminder of our objective is that you will learn what an onomatopoeia is, what a personification is, and how we can use that in our writing. So if you're feeling like you feel really good about that, I want you to click A, I totally get this. B, I mostly understand, but I have some questions. And C, I'm still kind of confused. So go ahead and pause the video and answer the questions for the exit ticket. And now you're going to go into Canvas. So go ahead and click on ELA Day 2. Mind you, mine looks a little bit different because I'm looking at the teacher version of this, but it looks pretty similar on your screen. Go to the number 3 step, complete the Day 2 assignment, and then you will see the directions. So you have a mini example of the directions here included. If you scroll down, you'll see your rubric. But what I want you to do is click here for the exact directions of the assignment. The description of the assignment is that you're going to be creating a comic strip or storyboard to tell a story. And your story must include 5 sentences. So let's take a look at my example. In my example, we can see that, let's zoom in a little bit. The story is called First Day of School. So it's the story about me on the first day of school. If you look here, it starts with beep, beep, it's time to wake up. But Mrs. Johnson is knocked out. She is sleeping. You can see all the Z's in onomatopoeia. Beep, beep, the time is 6 a.m. and it's time for Mrs. Johnson to wake up for school. After she got dressed, she headed to the kitchen to pack her lunch. Then, all of a sudden, she heard a loud bark. Ruff! When she turned around, she saw that her dog, Buddy, was waiting to play, but she had to remind him that it was the first day of school and that she wouldn't be able to play that. She would be able to play later. Before heading to school, Mrs. Johnson stopped at the coffee shop for a caramel frappuccino, her favorite drink. After her first slurp, she was energized and ready for a great first day. Ring! The bell had rung, and it was time for Mrs. Johnson to start class. The first 3 students she met were Brooklyn, Amina, and Ben. Mrs. Johnson took the kids outside for recess. They were excited for their first recess of the year. All of the students whizzed past to get the equipment that they missed over the summer. Before she knew it, it was 3 p.m. and the buses were honking away for the day. She had realized that she had a great first day and a great start to the school year. So you can see I have several examples of onomatopoeia, but you'll notice I'm missing personification. That's your job to add some of yours in there. So let's go back to our directions. That's my example. I want you to click on the link above and look at my example again if you need to do so. Then I want you to click on the link here, and I want you to start your own storyboard account using the sign in with Google. Then I want you to use the different backgrounds and categories of the pictures to create your own storyboard or comic strip. So if we zoom